good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this evening is Minor Vincent from Families Helping Families. Minor, welcome. How are you?
Pete, good to see you again.
Good to see you again. What's new?
Just trying to survive the winter.
I was going to say, it's not...
Between the snow and the cold.
It's not warm and tropical. See, Minor, this time of year, like right now, we should go do the spring food drive. It's almost spring food drive weather.
Almost.
Almost.
I'd rather not think about that.
No, all right. We will. All right, we won't think about that.
I want to think about spring, though. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
All right. Yeah, we can talk about spring. All right, we can definitely do that. So, what's going on with the organization?
Well, right now we're in the midst of putting together what I call a budget, but it's not really a budget. It's a guideline of, how much we think that we can give out to our various programs during the new year.
Okay.
With the majority, going to probably the Clinton Food Pantry, because we support them with two programs, our Fresh Produce program and our Cancer Clinton program. So what we try and do with our Fresh Produce program, we've partnered with a wholesaler. Right. So we're buying probably 20 to 25% less than the prices you see at the supermarkets.
Correct.
And we have their delivery date is the date that the food pantry gives out food, so it's really fresh produce. So we try and do that, every week during the month, but it probably averages three weeks out of the month. So that program uses up a lot of funds. Cancer Clinton is a program that we started with them, and how that works is there's certain times of the year when the shelves are literally almost bare. So we team up with Linda Smith, who's the director of the food pantry.
Sure, absolutely.
She tells us, what the needs are, and then we try and go out into the marketplace and try and buy it for the most economical prices that we can find, whether it's cans of fruit or vegetables, or soap or shampoo or laundry detergent. Some of those things, when people do food drives, those aren't the things that get donated. Food gets donated. Right. But at the same time, those tend to be some of the more expensive things. If you walk down the aisle at a supermarket or a drugstore, and you look at the prices of just, let's say, shampoo. Right. It's very expensive.
Oh, yeah. So
what we try and do is work with her and try to eliminate some of those empty shelves when we can.
And how's that going?
It goes well. What she does is she'll come up with a list and say, these are the things that are getting low, so you might want to start to search out and see if you can find some things. And so we try and help them out that way. Like I said, those are the shampoo and soap, laundry detergent, dishwashing stuff. That's not the norm that gets donated at a food drive. So they're at kind of the mercy of people that might donate or organizations that might donate, but it's stuff that is expensive and it's not readily available to them.
Exactly.
So we try and fill in that in that way.
So besides your putting your budget guidelines together, what else are you guys up to?
Well, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do in terms of events.
Okay.
Over the course of the next year, it's difficult because we're a very small organization, but right. We do have people that, when we have an event, they'll come on board and help out.
Right.
But we're definitely going to do the summer lunch program again.
Oh, excellent.
Last year we had a hot meal for every Friday that the kids were out of school. Right. Until they went back to school. And we coupled that meal with a program. So we had the fire department, we had the police with the dog. Mm-hmm. We had DPW brought their 80-foot truck. Cindy Stevens did an art lesson. So right now we're trying to figure out how many Fridays we're going to have that program, and who can we fill in to make that a complete hour. After 20 minutes, the kids' attention span for lunch is, they've eaten lunch. Right. So we try and have another half-hour program to meet those needs. So we're excited about that. We're definitely going to do that again. We're talking now about, we did a safety day program. Yep. And hopefully we can do that again, hopefully the first Saturday in June. We did, our standards are going to be there with the food drives. Crazy for Cupcakes, apple pie. We did an event, Bon Voyage de Summer last year.
Yes.
Very successful. Town showed a tremendous amount of support for it. The problem is it's very, very labor intensive.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just, we had a tent and we had all our decorations and set up the food, and we got great cooperation from Rockies Aqua and Cedar Island Marina. Yeah. And we had great sponsorship. So, but to do it all is really a lot of work, and it's not like, it's a 2-day event, so you got to, you know, we had it on a Saturday night, so basically your whole Friday is taken up setting it up, and then Saturday morning you got to go back and take it down. So, you know, with a small group of people, it's very difficult. But we thought the event was very worthwhile, mainly because we gave the VFW in town their relief fund. We gave them a substantial amount of money to help, you know, bolster that fund. So we're looking maybe not to do the same venue, but maybe something different, maybe a different theme.
Very
so
nice.
You know, the ideas are flowing, and we'll have a meeting later in the month and hopefully finalize everything.
Very nice. And you missed a fundraiser, by the way.
Well, yeah, I didn't. You know, pancakes are.
There you go.
Pancakes are a tradition in Clinton. You know, the Lions Club sought us out. This will be the 12th annual one.
Right.
And they sat us. You know, we had a meeting with them, and they wanted to know what we were all about, what we were doing, where the funds go, et cetera, et cetera. And they were more than happy to host it, and they've done one ever since. And we're deeply indebted to them because they do all the work. They get there early in the morning, right. And you know, it's always the last Sunday in January, so yeah. You know, it's not 60 degrees out, unfortunately, but
it should be.
So they get there, they set up all the tables, they cook the pancakes. One of their members makes homemade bacon, which is very thick.
Yes.
So if you don't get there early, they always run out of the bacon. So, you know, they basically, you know, they give us all the money that they collect. So, like I said, we're very appreciative of their efforts, and this, like I said, this will be the 12th one that we do. So they were the first, and it's always a fun event because, you know, everybody, by the end of January, especially after winter like we've had,
exactly.
People have cabin fever, so they want to get out and just, you know, see everybody that they normally see around town, and it's a good time. It's from 8:30 to 11:30 on the last Sunday in January. Right. And it's a good time. And it's a free event. If you would like to make a donation, then that's fine. All the donations fund our 5 community outreach programs. So it's you know, you can have breakfast and, you know, help a family in town.
One of the things that we haven't talked about in a while since last time I had you on, how did the idea of Families Helping Families get started?
Well, I think Terry Dombey and I started it 12 years ago. Okay. And I think we were both in the same mindset that we felt like we were really blessed. And we wanted to do something to pass on that blessing. So we met a few times, and basically we came up with the idea of Families Helping Families, and our first program and the main focus for 3 or 4 years was strictly energy assistance. Right. So what we've done is we've partnered with an outside vendor, mm-hmm. and we work in conjunction with Cheryl Church at Social Services. Okay. We basically would go out and we buy X number of dollars worth of oil. So the program runs through Cheryl Church, and you know, she's got control over it. She, you know, if somebody is in dire need, then she makes the phone call. The oil gets delivered, and the vendor knows that, you know, there's funds there, so they're going to be paid. It all works very, very smoothly, and she's been doing it ever since she, you know, got that position, which I think is 6 years ago. Wow! So it's the program's been great. You know, the only problem is now what's happening in the oil market is the price of heating oil is skyrocketing. Yeah. You know, not to the extent of where it was about 3 or 4 years ago when it was $4 a gallon, but it's probably going up 70 to 85 cents a gallon in the past, I'd say, 2 months. Wow. So, you know, the amount of dollars that we have when it was down around $2 a gallon goes a lot further, and now that it's up about between $2.85 and $3 a gallon. So all of a sudden, the resources that you thought you had become stretched very thin.
Exactly.
But the money's there. People in town obviously want to help out families, and so, you know, Cheryl's been great because she's educated people to the programs that are available through the state. So that has cut down on the amount of funds that we have to, you know, pay out. So it works well. You know, the partnerships that we have with groups in town are pretty amazing. You know, between Cheryl Church and Linda Smith, those people do a lot of the work in the background that nobody knows about.
Exactly.
But they are in the same mode that we are, is that, you know, how can we do more and get more with the funds that the people in Clinton provide?
Exactly.
So, you know, we're very, very lucky to have people like that on board and to work with us on a daily basis, basically.
So, what else do you want to educate everybody about the organization?
Well, we have, you know, I want to make sure that people understand that, you know, if there is a need, feel free to call us.
Right.
You know, we're here to help people. Our Families to Families program is basically if a family's in crisis, something happens unexpectedly, you know, then we step in, whether we help with, you know, pay a bill, or it's a gas card or a food card. Then we have Clinton Kids Initiative, which is, you know, highlighted by the summer lunch program, and we will be, you know, as soon as we get these, I think the school's already set their schedule. As soon as we get the, you know, firm up the schedule and get people to commit to doing programs, we're going to make a big push because it's held at the library every Friday from 12 to 1.
Right.
So what happens is we partner with Chow.
Yes.
They provide a hot meal. And then we do a program, and then there are foods that the kids can take home for during the week. We've also partnered with the community garden.
Right.
And so when probably late July, early August, when all their produce starts to, you know, be ready to be picked, they containerize like tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and radishes. And so they'll drop off a whole bunch of containers of fresh produce so the kids can take that home too. And then last year we even had a private citizen brought produce from their garden, and so that was available. So we want to make it, you know, a fun time for the kids every Friday. And then also during the summer we partner with Cindy Stevens, so we give out some art scholarships for kids that, you know, otherwise couldn't take advantage of that program. We partner with the Clinton Sailing Club, and we give out.
Would you mind sticking around?
Sure, I'd love to.
We'll be right back.
With newspapers and media outlets merging all over the country, communities are losing their local voice.
There's so much going on in the community that I think doesn't really, there's a lot of folks who are unaware of it. And I think things like this can bring it out into the community, and in that way kind of bring the community together.
Information and to our residents is the key to good governance. And with the national media and local media not often covering us, this is an excellent opportunity for us constantly to communicate with our constituents and also to have them communicate with us.
The best outcomes will be achieved through a community-based organization that grows its operation and scale by means of locally produced programming.
All of our content is volunteer produced, so we do shows from talk shows to music shows, working with high schools.
VSC-TV is committed to ensuring that the investment made to secure these powerful tools will pay great dividends in the community for many, many years.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Minor Vincent from Families Helping Families. Minor, welcome back.
Good to be back with you, Pete.
Well, good to be here. Good to be here. So we talked a little bit about the first segment, the organization. Let's talk about, open up the segment, talking about volunteer opportunities.
Well, we're always looking for people, and we've been fortunate over the years. People have made a commitment to help us, and how a lot of people have said, you know, how can I help?
Right.
What can I do?
Right.
So some people have said, okay, I'll do the food drives for you, you know, spring and fall. Some people just do the apple pie.
Right.
You know, they come and dish out that Mezzetti apple crisp.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with the apple pies. We have some people that just say, you know, that help with the lunch program. They're there every single Friday. They, you know, they dish out the food. They help with the kids. They help with the program that we might have. So it's not like if you want to volunteer and help us, it doesn't require a lot of time.
Right.
So we're always looking for people to help, and what we can do is we'll say, you know, look, the event is like when we do apple pie. So there's there's 3 segments of that event. There's the setup, which is say like 3 to 5.
Yep.
And then there's actually the serving, which is 6 to 8.
Yep. And
then there's the actual cleanup, which is like, you know, 8 to 9. Some people say, well, you know, I can come for a couple hours and help you set up, or I can come and serve. So it doesn't, you know, if somebody wants to volunteer, it's not like it requires a great amount of time. It's when we have an event, you know, maybe a couple of hours. So, you know, we probably have lots and lots of volunteers, and you know, we're appreciative of them. But by the same token, you know, we don't want to take advantage of them. So, you know, it's only like when we do the lunch program, you know, basically we get there like 11:45, and by, you know, 1:15, we've got the room all cleaned up at the library, and we're all ready to go.
Wow.
So it's not a big time commitment. It's more of a commitment to that event, so that we know that we have, okay, in addition to the Family Supplement Families Board of Directors, we know if we call these 12 people, they'll be there because that's the event that they like to do.
Right.
So it works out very well. You know, like I said, food drive, you know, we break up the food drive into 2-hour sections. For most people, for you, it's a full 4 hours.
Exactly.
We don't want you, you know, we want you there for the whole time.
We're talking about volunteerism, except if you're Pete Mezzetti.
You're there. You're there.
You show up all day and you end up stinging.
That's right. You know,
sort of like the pancake breakfast. You and I usually normally.
Yeah, we're at the door for the whole time.
You and I are at the door talking to people.
Yeah. And that's part of, you know, that's when when we're doing an event, whether it's, you know, pancake breakfast or apple pie or even the food drive, you know, part of the enjoyment of doing the event is you get to talk to a lot of Clinton people.
Exactly.
You know, and, you know, you talk anything from Families Helping Families to what's going on in town to, you know, how are your kids doing?
Right.
It's, so, you know, there's still a lot of that small town flavor to Clinton. It's like if, you know, you go to the post office, you know, I try and go a couple of times a week, and without fail, I run into somebody I know. How you doing? What's going on? You know, it's just, you know, that atmosphere, it's like, you know, you just want to make sure that somehow we can keep that intact even as the town grows.
Exactly.
And I think that the appeal to a lot of our supporters in town is that they know that every dollar that they donate, every publicly donated dollar goes right directly back to Clinton families. You know, it's a local effort to assist those people who, you know, for whatever reason, they're going through some difficult and unforeseen circumstances. So it's, you know, it's very heartwarming. And when we do food drives, as you know, you're well aware of, people will come up and say, you know, I was there and I was going through a difficult time, and you guys and the food pantry helped me out, so here's a couple of bags of groceries.
There you go.
It's, you know, that in itself is very gratifying.
One thing we didn't talk about this segment, so we'll talk about it now. We mentioned it briefly last segment, was you mentioned the fresh produce program with the, and I know I'm going to get this wrong, Church of...
It's the First Church. Yeah, it used to be, the food pantry used to be at the Holy Advent Church.
Right.
And they moved to the First Church.
Right.
So they give out food every Wednesday from 6 to 7.
Okay.
So again, there's an organization that's got a lot of volunteers, but they've done it, we've kind of followed the same model that they have. You know, like I'll go in on a Wednesday like at 10:30, and so the trucks will come in, so say from 10:30 to 11:30, we unload the trucks, we go through some of the items to make sure they're in date.
Yeah.
And then Lynn Smith and her husband Ray, they come back again in the afternoon at 4, get everything prepared. For people that don't know how the food pantry works, it's all set up by the size of your family.
Oh, okay.
So it's, you know, whether it's a family of 2, 4, 6, and that's how, like if you come up to the table and there's vegetables or cans of fruit, and it's, okay, so if you're a family of 4, you get X number of cans. If you're, so what they do is they come back at 4 o'clock, they make sure everything's all set up, and then at 6 o'clock they open the doors and people come in. And then consequently, whatever hasn't been given out, they put back on the shelves. And those people, a lot of people that do it in the daytime don't do it in the nighttime. So they have a separate group of volunteers, just like we do, that says, you know, I can help for a couple hours here and a couple hours there. So it works out very well. The problem with the food pantry is, it's not a problem, but 2 years ago they were probably serving maybe 90 clients on a Wednesday night, and they've been as high as 170 this year. So if you take those numbers all the way to the end, then you know, that small food pantry in the small town of Clinton is probably serving, you know, well over 22,000 people a year.
Oh my goodness. So
it's you know, it's all volunteer. Right. But you know, again, that speaks to the character of Clinton, that people, you know, are willing to give up their time to help somebody else. Right. So it works, you know, it works very well. And how are things going at the community garden? Community garden, believe it or not, they are already meeting and planning.
They are.
Yeah, what they do is they take the winter months to review what happened in the previous year. Okay. They have planting meetings. Right. So say, well, you know, we grew, just as an example, they might say, well, we grew this kind of pepper last year, but for some reason it didn't produce that many. So next year we're going to try that pepper. Or green beans they grew this year, and they had tremendous success with green beans, and everybody liked them. So, you know, everything is portioned out in raised beds. Yep. For the most part. And so they might say, well, you know, maybe this year we'll do 2 more raised beds of green beans, because number 1, they were easier to grow. Number 2, they produced a lot of fruit. So they're running through all those calculations now, trying to figure out, you know, what's the best thing that they can grow, that they can give to the food pantry. Because again, how, you know, it's amazing the partnerships that are going on around town that nobody knows about. Right. You know, the Lions Club with us, and us with the food pantry, and the garden with the food pantry. Right. So the neat thing about the garden is that they pick their produce on a Wednesday, and it goes right to the food pantry to be given out that night. So it can't get, it's like, you know, garden to table. It can't get any fresher than that. So they do a phenomenal job. You know, they have people that work there. Again, they have a group that works on Wednesdays to plant, to weed, to pick. There's a separate group, which I'm a part of, that all we do is we package everything, get it all ready for it to be shipped to the food pantry. And there's a group, they come back again on Saturday to weed, to, you know, to pick. So it's pretty amazing. And I think, you know, in their existence, which I believe last year was the 5th or 6th year, you know, they've donated over 32,000 pounds of food. Wow. So yeah, we partner with them, we try and give them some funds, because, you know, we looked at it this way, that if you take the number of pounds of food that they produce divided by what we give them, the cost of that food is so inexpensive that that's the best bargain that we can come up with. So again, keeping in mind that, you know, we're trying to be good stewards of everybody's donations, and there couldn't be a better avenue to donate to somebody than to donate to them, because the end cost is so little. So you're talking about, you know, planting some seeds that produce bushels and pounds of food. So it works very well. And believe me, they are so dedicated. They're there, you know, rain, shine, you know, it doesn't, 100-degree temperatures, they're out there working in the garden. Have they found a new pasture yet? They Holy Hadbin hasn't, but Holly Richards, who has been a gardener with them since the very beginning, has been named the new garden coordinator.
Okay.
So what they have is they've formed a team of people that have been there for a while. They know exactly how things should be run,
right.
And so they're going to work as a team with her in the lead. So I'm excited to go back there and help them this year.
Very nice, very nice.
Excuse me.
Well, we got a little bit of time left, but before we say goodnight, details on the pancake breakfast one more time.
Last Sunday in January,
yeah,
pancake breakfast, Town Hall Green Room, 8:30 to 11:30.
All right.
People need to get there early if they want the hand-cut,
the bacon,
very thick bacon.
All right.
It's all you can eat. It's free. If you'd like to make a donation to Families Helping Families to fund our 5 community outreach programs, we'd be very grateful to accept that.
Excellent.
And it's a great time. You know, lots of coffee, lots of juice.
Absolutely.
So we hope everybody. We're praying for good weather, but we hope that everybody, regardless of the weather, will show up.
Well, that's a
good way to kick off the new year.
It's a great way to kick off the new year, and we've got a little bit more time. We don't.
So if
I guess that's it for tonight. On behalf of Minor Vincent.
Pete, thanks for having us.
I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.